India today is the third largest energy consumer in the world. But there's a dangerous problem. We import nearly 90% of our crude oil. Every time oil prices rise globally, India suffers. Petrol prices increase. Things changed forever on May 18, 1974. Under Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, India conducted its first nuclear test, Operation Smiling Buddha. India had officially entered the nuclear club, but the world was furious. The United States and other nuclear powers feared that India could become a major strategic force. And soon, India was isolated from the global nuclear market. For more than 30 years, India could not easily buy uranium, could not access advanced reactor technology, could not import critical nuclear components. Indian reactors started operating at barely half their capacity. Most countries would have given up, but India didn't, because Homi Bhabha already had a backup plan, a genius-level strategy that was decades ahead of its time. The three-stage nuclear program. You see, India may not have much uranium, but India possesses something else, thorium. And India holds nearly 25% of the world's thorium reserves. Most of it is hidden inside monazite sands along India's coastline. If you've ever seen black-colored sand on beaches in Kerala or Tamil Nadu, that sand contains thorium. Now here's where things get crazy. To produce 1 gigawatt of electricity, you need 3.5 million tons of coal, or 2.1 million tons of oil, or 200 tons of uranium, but only 1 ton of thorium. That is the scale of energy we are talking about. But there's one huge problem. Thorium cannot directly power a reactor. It first needs to be converted into a usable nuclear fuel. And that conversion process is one of the hardest challenges in nuclear engineering. This is why Homi Bhabha designed his famous three-stage nuclear strategy. Before we understand India's plan, we first need to understand one important concept: nuclear fission. Inside every atom, there's a nucleus. Certain atoms like uranium-235 are unstable. When a neutron strikes uranium-235, the nucleus splits apart. This process releases massive heat, smaller atoms, and more neutrons. Those new neutrons then hit other uranium atoms, creating a chain reaction. This chain reaction generates enormous heat. That heat converts water into steam. The steam spins turbines, and turbines generate electricity. That's how nuclear power works. But there's a catch. The neutrons move extremely fast, so reactors use something called a moderator to slow them down. Most countries use ordinary water, but ordinary water absorbs too many neutrons, which means they need enriched uranium. India didn't have enrichment technology, so Homi Bhabha used something smarter: heavy water reactors. In stage 1, India used heavy water reactors powered by natural uranium. Heavy water slows down neutrons without absorbing them, which means India could use uranium directly from the ground. No enrichment needed. But here's the real genius. Natural uranium contains mostly uranium-238. When uranium-238 absorbs neutrons, it slowly transforms into plutonium-239. And plutonium is extremely valuable. So, while India's reactors were producing electricity, they were secretly manufacturing plutonium for the next stage. And India quietly stockpiled plutonium for decades. Now comes stage 2, the fast breeder reactor. And this is where history was made in Kalpakkam in 2026. Indian scientists took plutonium from stage 1, mixed it with depleted uranium, and created something called MOX fuel. Inside a fast breeder reactor, there is no moderator. The neutrons remain extremely fast, and that creates two unbelievable effects. The reactor produces electricity while simultaneously creating even more fuel. Think about that. A reactor that manufactures fuel while generating power. This is why it's called a breeder reactor. And after decades of research, India's prototype fast breeder reactor finally achieved criticality in April 2026. This was one of the biggest milestones in India's nuclear history because it proved that stage 2 actually works. Now comes the final stage, the ultimate goal, thorium reactors. Once enough plutonium is created, thorium blankets are introduced into the reactor system. Thorium absorbs neutrons and eventually transforms into uranium-233, and uranium-233 becomes the fuel for advanced reactors. This is the final vision of Homi Bhabha. An India powered almost entirely by thorium. An India that no longer fears oil prices, no longer depends on foreign energy, no longer gets economically shaken by global conflicts. And if this succeeds, India could possess centuries of energy independence. For decades, many people mocked Homi Bhabha's vision. Many countries tried similar breeder reactor projects. Most failed. But India kept going, quietly, patiently. And after 70 years, India may finally be approaching the moment Bhabha dreamed of in 1954. A future where India becomes an energy superpower, powered not by imported oil, but by the sands of its own coastline. The only question now is how long will it take for India to fully enter the thorium age? And will our generation witness the rise of a truly energy-independent India? If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Indian Narrative for more geopolitical, historical, and strategic documentaries. Because India's greatest stories are only beginning to unfold.